Mr. Ron, I think you're laughing because you want the competition level to
You're
hype up.
absolutely right. You hit that right on the nail, right on the head. It is about competition, and that's a big part of the reason why some of the things that we've done, we're doing. You know, we create some competition at wide receiver, obviously. We've got it at corner. We've got it at safety. We've got it at nickel. I mean, we've got a lot of young guys on this football team, and, you know, I've said it earlier this year that those young guys have to step up and compete, and that's just the way it's going to be.
And again, now Dante can play outside, so that position flexibility gives you is important. And you know, we feel like maybe a couple other nickels can do that too.
You drew some interesting comparisons in college to Tyrann Mathieu, obviously the LSU pedigree, but the ability to roam a little bit and the freedom he had to roam. So do you think you all might look into not maybe confining him to one thing, or?
Well, when you look at his skill set, there are going to be some matchups. There really are. And again, we look at what James Bradbury does for us on the big wide receivers, obviously, and you pair that down and you get that 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" receiver that's quick. We have a guy that can match him now and feel very comfortable about doing that.
And the pass catching backs, I imagine he might be considered a good matchup for maybe in the slot with his speed.
Yes, very much so, and that's the thing that you want to be able to do is bring a guy down. Now, when you look at Golston, now you bring a guy down that can match up on the tight ends, and so we feel good about guys like that.
Dante, you go into today with the idea that you leave today with a couple D-backs.
We didn't really focus. No, we didn't say what position. But again, obviously it was a position we wanted to help. And the draft fell right, and you know, Dante was a guy that we were really happy to get at 55. And then Rashawn is just a football player. You know, one of our scouts, I think, referred to him as a Swiss Army knife, and he will come down and hit you. He's a physical player, and he will give us some position flexibility. So they were just two really good football players, and our board kind of dictated, but certainly if you came in and said you were going to add a couple secondary players, we wouldn't have been disappointed, because we've said that's an area that we want to upgrade and build, and we're able to do that.
Dante, that chip he's got, you could really hear it in his voice even when he was talking to us. Is that something you feel like this secondary has kind of been missing the last couple of years, having that chippiness and that talker at the cornerback position?
Well, I think you know, you go back to our time with Josh Norman, and there was a swagger about that group, and I think you know, you couple that with some of the guys that were there. I think we are getting back to that. You know, go back and look at the guys we brought in free agency, you know, with Cockrell and Searcy. I mean, a couple of guys that, you know, veteran guys that are experienced, and then you add a couple of young dynamic players into that mix as well, the guys that you have. And I think you're going to have a very competitive group. I really do. I'm excited about it. And like I said, Jordan caught me smiling and laughing about it. I expect the competition to be heated, and I think it's going to be good for that group.
In December, we mentioned that, well, you mentioned the almost thieves out of 2.0 when you had James and Daryl pushing each other simultaneously. Now, of course, Daryl's no longer here, but is that something you want from your outsides to say, hey, I'm going to see your pick, I'm going to match it with a forced fumble, et cetera?
Yes, I want to see that kind of competition. I want to see guys pushing one another, supporting one another. I think trying to get guys to be better every time they get on the football field. So I'm excited about what potential can be with that group.
It looks like Rashawn has some good ability to make plays on the ball. I know that was at a premium for you guys this offseason after struggling a little bit last couple of years. I'm wondering if you saw that on tape with him, if that was a factor.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good football player. And he's got good instincts. He's very physical. As I say, we're going to put him at safety. He's played nickel for most of the time at Tennessee, but his flexibility, his instincts, his ball skills, he's a football player.
It sounded like the knock on Jackson, at least in some scouts' eyes, were kind of a little slight and didn't make a ton of plays on the ball. What did you see in your film and just being around him that makes you think that he can do more there?
Obviously, I think his build is probably why somebody with his skill set might have dropped to 55, but he makes plays on the ball. I mean, if you watch now, he's sudden, he's fast. You know, you watch the end of the last minute and a half, I think was the Auburn game. Yeah. He makes like 6 plays in a row at the end of the game. So he's he's a cover corner. I mean, he can make plays on the ball. He can cover receivers, and I think he gives you. We talk about intermixing skill sets. Well, now we have a guy like Dante. We have Kevon who can run. We've got the big corners with Brad Berry and Ross Cockrell and a bunch of guys. I mean, we have created a lot of competition at that spot. I think much like wide receiver, and that's always a good thing.
Well, the other thing too is we're getting faster, and I know it was one of the emphasis that in talking with Marty that he was really high on when we started this whole process back in January, was that we had to focus in on making sure we improve the team speed, and we feel we've done that in the first 2 days, and we're going to try and continue to do that as we start studying up and getting ready for tomorrow.
Something I had read about Rashawn was that, well, his flatline speed obviously is, what it is. His game speed was something that people really stood out to people.
Very much so, and he's sudden, and he breaks on the ball, and he's got great ball skills, as you mentioned. So, sometimes, again, time speed it's play speed. It's what you see on the field, and he plays fast.
When you last won it, last year you had the Saints, and you lost to them 3 times. When you have something like that happen and you want to get to where they are, do you ever draft specifically maybe to match up better with them? And
if you look at our division, for the most part, that's what we got to match up with. I mean, you look at the skill sets that you have at Tampa Bay at their wide receiver position, what they're trying to do at the running back position, and the tight end. You look at what we have at Atlanta and what they've done with their running back position, what they've always had with their wide receivers and their tight end. Now New Orleans has done the same thing, and they showed it last year, and they were very strong. So do we look at one team specifically? Not necessarily, as much as we've had to look at the other 3 teams in our division more so than anything else. And then the spillover effect that will go to the conference and then to the AFC. We have to be aware of that, and we do have to be able to match it. But this is not really about one team as much as this is about what we're seeing as a trend in the league right now.
You guys had a trade just now. Was there any temptation watching some of those interior offensive linemen go off the board? Was there any temptation to package a couple and maybe trade up?
They flew off the board quickly, but again, we talked about patience and we kind of let the board come to us, and I think we feel very, very happy. You can't draft everybody. You can't fill every need, but I think that we feel like we got very good value today.
Would you be surprised if you end up using all 6 of those picks tomorrow?
Boy, I can't tell you, Joe. We made a trade, though.
Thanks, Marty.